Sandra, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to learn more from you and hear about your experience with the VERIF.i program. I think that your insights are going to be invaluable for us to understand the impact and how effective the program is. So I'd love to start by hearing a little bit about yourself and your background. Can you tell us a bit about your professional background? And I'd love to hear more.
Sure, no problem. Thank you guys for including me in this. To get started, I'd just like to say hi, hello to everyone. My name is Sandra Burlock, and currently I'm an independent consultant working and living abroad here in China. I've been in China for about almost 17 years now. Currently, initially came out working for a CRO, and then it just is a very small stepping stone of just going in and then helping set up and train, and then it became 3 months to 6 months to a year and 2 years, and then I just never left. In my time here, basically I've worked with different CROs located in Shanghai, and then my last job was with NYU Shanghai. So basically, my term with NYU that's over, and I just decided to continue as an independent consultant here in Asia. Um, Work experience: I've been working with laboratory animals for almost slightly over 25 years now. Um, Within the industry, whether it's CROs or academic settings, working with different types of species, and then working in different roles, whether it was on the ground with technical, hands on, or more into management roles.
Thank you. That's really interesting to hear, and we're so glad to have all of your experience. Can you tell me how long you've been conducting assessments for the VERIF.i program?
Um, I started, my first one was in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been like 3 years right now, going around in different areas of China doing assessments for the VERIFY program.
That's great. Can you tell me about how the program streamlines and simplifies the pre-assessment process for suppliers?
Basically, I just see it as a way for suppliers to find a way to demonstrate their quality and the service they offer. Um, and basically able to show their commitment and responsibility towards ethical research and ethical treatment of animals. And then having that chance of being transparent and allowing for clients, researchers to be able to assess and evaluate their capabilities. Um, I just see it as having a one stop shop, and then be able to have all the information from different suppliers and be able to compare what they have to offer.
That's fantastic. We see it that way as well, and I feel like it's been really impactful. How does, on the other side, for the biopharmaceutical companies and big pharma and things, how does Verify kind of streamline for them?
As most pharma companies, they always tend to have go and do due diligence work, and then looking at all these different companies and seeing which ones fit best. But then going through your program and having everything there just for them at their ease, at their fingertips, and be able to compare apples to apples and not having to compare apples to oranges and having all these different types of information. Everything is centralized and everything is standardized, which makes it very easy for the suppliers to get the information they need.
That's awesome. I love the fact that it's really centralized, and the apples to oranges thing has always been a big issue with different types of assessments. So I'm glad to hear that. How do you think that the program ensures that it's has integrity and that it's objective?
Um, well, basically, having, I guess, people like me having independent auditors going in and then using the tools provided by the Verify program, and having all of that again at your fingertips to be able to go in and assess and follow this a set of criteria or standardized criteria and the requirements. So when you go in, then you can be objective. You don't go in with a mindset. And also thinking about any conflict of interest that might interfere with the audit. Basically, you put that all at the side to be able to ensure the objectivity and integrity of the audit process. Does that make sense?
It definitely does. So we've talked about this a little bit, but how do you think that the program addresses the challenges that are posed by conducting traditional on-site supplier assessments? I know you mentioned the checklist and being objective, but the traditional audit process is a little bit different. So how does this address those challenges?
Um, I guess for any client or companies that look to outsource or work with other companies, I can just imagine, the travel, the scheduling, and the costs and the time associated to having an on-site assessment. And what's the great part with the VERIF.i, you have the key auditors in key locations that are able to help and support the clients and what in their needs. Because I can only imagine traveling across the world for a 1 day site visit and just the cost related to it, the cultural differences, um, and all of that put together. It just makes it very, I guess, it makes it very heavy and just very, how do I say this? Just I guess like a very a pain in to just to be able to deal with all of that. And then just having these key auditors in place, it just reduces the hassles and risks that might be experienced by both the supplier and the researcher. I think having people locally available, I think it puts the supplier at ease. And then I think at the other end, it just also puts the researcher, the clients in more of a perspective of, okay, we can get this done without all the hassle that's behind it. I think COVID actually put put pressure on us to be able to get moving and being a bit more forward on dealing with this than it was before.
And COVID definitely put pressure on people and
Exactly.
yeah, on clients and suppliers for these assessments. So that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned the issues for clients traveling, which I can only imagine the jet lag if you're trying to do a 1 day assessment. But for the suppliers that usually have to host multiple client evaluations, that's kind of an operational burden for them. So how does this support them in that way?
Um, I think for the suppliers and being, I have been on that side of the fence and receiving auditors. You do know that the time it takes for preparation, being ready, um, the communications behind it, and then be able to just spend all that time and energy in preparation for receiving the auditor. I think that having this in one platform, that all the information is easily ready and easily available to everyone, it just helps. I can only imagine that some suppliers may have one, two, or maybe up to three auditors in a week or in a month. And then just think about all the time that it takes from the supplier to be able to host, being available while they're hosting and taking care of the audit and managing and then overseeing the audit. Their work is not being done. So I think coming in at this angle, I think it just makes all these suppliers realize this, like, hey, if we can avoid all of this, again, it's all coming down to saving time, money, and resources.
I think that's a really good point. I assume that a lot of people, when they picture an audit, they probably think you're just going in to kind of look around the facility, but there's so much more that goes into it. You're reviewing a lot of SOPs, and those have to be available, or someone has to pull them for you to review. You have to, of course, look at the facility, but you're also talking to people and There's people that like
Exactly.
you said are not doing their regular daily work because they're with you. So
Exactly.
that multiplied during the week.
Yeah, and especially in my in where I'm at located, and you have to think about like reviewing documents and the time it takes, because a lot of the times if everything is in a different language, I need translators. I need more people to be assigned to be able to assess and to help me, and I guess hold my hand throughout the process.
Yeah. So you mentioned where you're located a couple times, and I know that it's an area that has a lot of suppliers in this space. So how do you think this program helps them kind of innovate or stand out in what is a really competitive market?
Stand out. I think it's being transparent. I think they want to use this platform to be able to, I guess, to I get the proper term is to show off. If you, like you said, there's a lot of companies here. They're all around. They're growing. The business is growing, and competition is really high. So having that everything in one place and then being transparent, showing that your innovation, that you're willing to change, that you're willing to work towards getting better, and then providing more services, because in the end it is a competition. And then that's just having be able to use this platform to be able to show everything that they can do.
Yeah, I think that animal welfare is one of those places where it's fair to show off, and I think it's a good thing to show off. So I like that you said that because, normally we hear that in kind of a negative context, but when we're dealing with animals, it's fantastic. And I also like to tell people that if we're at the point in an assessment where the items that somebody, an auditor like you, find are kind of nitpicky, that's what you want to see. We want to all be operating at such a high level that the only things that we're finding are very, very minor.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit, about what sets the VERIF.i program kind of apart from other assessment processes. But have you felt like has been a big impact on your approach, especially when you're considering animal welfare?
For me personally, I just love the standardized templates and the standardized reporting template. I think it makes my job easier when I go in, and then just having that objective mindset that I can just go and then I know what I need to focus on. Because in most cases I have one day to just go and assess, and depending on the size of the institution, it's a lot. And then having that as a driving tool, it just really helps and then support the work that I need to do in that one day.
I like that. When I try to explain the program to people and I tell them that there's a checklist, then I have to kind of catch myself and say it's so much more than a checklist because you're not checking boxes. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of the biggest thing that sets, the program apart from other assessment processes. But can you talk a little bit about when you're completing what we call the checklist? What all goes into that?
Checklist, like you said, it's not just a checklist, and it's not just a yes or no answering questions. It's basically it's this is the tool that's going to be going out to clients and having all that information in that one place. Like I say, but it's the tool where I use can then just to be clarify um, each category and clarify everything that I see. I am the eyes and ears of the client, and if I want to make sure that the information that I provide is accurate, and to make sure that I don't necessarily assume that they know what I'm trying to say, and then just putting everything into perspective, that I know that it's somebody on maybe at the other end of the world, that's on the other side of the world, that's trying to understand what I'm trying to project. So the checklist is a great tool to be able to just go summarize, be clear, and then detail each finding or detail all the information, whether it's negative or positive. Even if they're doing something right, I still write into details what's the right thing and what they're doing right. And then if they're not necessarily doing, or there's recommendations, then I put into details with proper references to say, this will need to be addressed, or something this will need to be looked into further down the line.
Yeah, I do like being able to read your individual comments for each line item instead of just ticking a box that says, a facility is clean and well maintained. I can see that you have been through the hallways and through all the animal rooms and described the flooring and the lighting and the smells if necessary. So it really does help to put someone else kind of in your shoes in that way instead of just relying on a tick box. So I do have one last question for you. How do you feel that VERIF.i has incorporated your feedback or feedback that's been shared with you during visits into the process?
Um, Most places that I do visit, a lot of this it's new to them, especially to because this is made. You see this being decisions coming from higher management that they want to add this process in place. But then when I go and do visits, then you might talk to the veterinarian, you might talk to like a lower line manager, and they're like, "All right, what are you doing? What's this?" And then I had the chance to explain. What you guys are all about, which is good. And then they are like, oh, really? A lot of them didn't know that something like this existed, which is good. And then and then on that side, I think that the suppliers, they're really welcoming to information that I share with them. For example, after each of my visits, I'll go through my good and bad, maybe fine or good and bad observations throughout the day. And after that, I will summarize everything in an email because I do want to make sure that you understand what I communicated is correct, especially with the language differences. But
Mhm.
talking and coming back and replying to those emails, and then you see that they want to get better, they want to do better. And then they're very transparent. They share with me, they'll share with me some documentation, they'll share with me SOPs. This is what we've done, this is what we fixed, which makes it very easy on my side working with these type of suppliers that you see that they want to bring that change. And then bringing that back to the VERIF.i program people, and then because someone is not always obvious being the middleman, but having, like I said, just having people that do want to just close that gap and be able to improve. I think it's very well received.
That's fantastic. And I know that you and I have been working on this, quite a few of these together. And you've probably seen that we've adapted some of the training and some of the guidance as we go. We've adapted some of the materials that we share with suppliers to help them prepare. And we try to maintain the integrity of the checklist, obviously, without causing too many issues. But I think that any client or supplier feedback, we do genuinely try to incorporate because that's who we're doing this for in the end.
Exactly. And then I even if when I look at my first report that I did, 3 years ago, and compared to what I do also as an auditor, we also evolve, and we also try to based on your comments again when you review my documents, and then coming back with you getting from clients, or if you're getting other information, if they're wanting more details, then from that, then also on our side, we do adapt, and then we try to again see how we can improve and make things easier and streamline the information easier back to the supplier and the clients.
Yeah, there's been, I think, two really good examples of that. One was heat pads for rodents after surgery, uh,
Yes.
clarification around if they were on the heat pad or if there was like something in between, and then uh, things around pest control as well. And it doesn't mean that they were things that weren't on the checklist or that you weren't looking at, but that clients maybe need to see more specifically written out. So it's really good to see that we're all kind of adapting and also changing with the times, because there are new best practices, and we're all trying to improve all the time. So my hope is that as we continue to do this, we just see them get better and better.
I agree. I agree. There's always room to improve.
Fantastic. Well, Sandra, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fantastic talking to you and hearing more about your experience with the VERIF.i program. I look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And yes, looking forward to continue to work with you and then doing more.